16 months for sure. Great to see that ship back this morning. Meanwhile, the situation in Cuba is certainly drawing international attention. Jeb Bush, former governor here in Florida and GOP presidential candidate, appealing to the Biden administration on Twitter, posting internet service in that country he says needs to be restored. Let's bring in former state Senate President Mike Haridopolos joining us live as he does most Mondays. Mike, good to see you. I hope it was a good weekend.
It was, Ryan. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. So we've seen this a lot, and we focused on this a lot. Cubans in the U.S., of course, calling in Orlando and all across the country for action there in Cuba. What is the latest on this?
Well, first, let's just recognize the unfortunate situation in Cuba. Since 1959, these folks have lived under a communist regime that has failed them. If you want to get food, gasoline, you're literally waiting online for hours. If you want to catch a bus, you wait on the line for hours. You live in squalor. It's just a terrible situation with rolling blackouts, with the lack of power. Once the Soviet Union fell, and more recently Venezuela has fallen on hard economic times, the Cuban people are desperately seeking help. And as Jeb Bush put it perfectly, if the power of information, I mean, the internet was allowed to run in Cuba, clearly there would be some type of natural uprise because people are living in squalor. That said, you're seeing that the regime is using their power. That means police tactics, et cetera, heavy violence, et cetera. And finally, if you protest against the government, you might just disappear in the middle of the night. And so this is a very difficult situation. The people of Miami, Florida know it best because many of them are Cuban exiles themselves. And the big question is, will Joe Biden use the technology of the United States to allow the internet to operate and thus social media and people get organized to try to remove this oppressive regime? That's going to be the question of the next week or so, as Ron DeSantis has pushed heavily to the president to do just that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, because we hear that from a lot of Cuban families here. They can't even communicate with people there to find out what's going on. Let's shift to voting regulations. And of course, we've seen this all across the state, but a lot of focus right now on Texas and what they're trying to do in the Lone Star State.
Absolutely. You have this unique situation where Texas legislators, members of the state house, fled the state of Texas in order to stop a vote on making sure they have legitimate elections in Texas. As you know, this bill will basically make it where you must show your ID in some form or fashion. That means either your driver's license number or your last 4 digits of your social security number. They've also expanded early voting hours, including Sunday. But Democrats say this is unfair. They think these provisions are unnecessary. And thus what they did is literally fled the state of Texas, went to Washington, D.C. of all places. But the bizarre thing that really led to some ire was they literally got on a private plane and did not wear a mask, where you and I, of course, anytime we're on a plane, have to wear a mask. And so some of the politics have bled into this. But bottom line is they're going to have a vote on this measure. The question is, how much ire can they create and so forth? But it really comes down to Texas is saying we are going to have some type of ID to make sure the person who says they're voting is voting. And second, the other thing that's important is they're not going to send out unsolicited ballots, because sometimes when you send out a ballot to a person who wasn't expecting it, mischief could happen. And so that's another big provision. So Texas, a lot of Democrats, Republicans fighting, but it was really interesting to see how the Texas legislators fled, but least likely they're going to have to come back.
Mike, just real quick, one word answer. You think there's any chance the governor arrests them like you said they would when they come back, or is that just a threat?
It's just a threat, but it says the message, hey, look, you got elected to vote or not vote. If you have a good idea, you got to win on the legislative floor. You can't run away from your responsibility.
All right, got to leave it there, Mike. We'll see you at 8:30. Always good to talk politics with you.
My pleasure, Ryan. Have a great one.
That is former State Senate President Mike Haridopolos.